Hello, everybody, and welcome to presentation. Really excited to be able to present information on our schools that we do have in China. This is the BASIS International Schools in China. And today I'm joined with our recruiting, a couple members of our recruiting team, Mike Holtquist and Ty Lemire. And we look forward to sharing some insights about our network, the schools, what is unique about BASIS International Schools in China, and some things we think are very important to be aware of when considering an opportunity with BASIS International Schools. The BASIS Curriculum Schools Network comprises 12 tuition-based private schools. We do have 7 international schools in China and Thailand, along with 5 independent or private schools based in the United States. All the schools have the common component of using the BASIS curriculum that has been highly regarded and has driven great results within the United States. We started the BASIS Curriculum Schools 20 years ago and built a very strong reputation around the results and the academics and the high outcomes the students are able to achieve through the BASIS curriculum. That's the common component. And we do have the same curriculum that we use in the United States schools, as well as our international schools, with some slight variances for the bilingual schools that we do have in China, which we'll talk about later on. As far as the BASIS curriculum, with the BASIS curriculum, we really are looking to educate students at the highest international levels to prepare the students to really be participants and not just spectators in the 21st century global workforce of commerce and innovation. And the 3 areas that we're really trying to build is, first off, really establishing a love of learning within our young students. We really want the excitement to be present. We want teachers to really embody that excitement and see the joy that comes from learning. We want the students to really kind of catch that, the thrill of learning new things and enjoy that. As the students move into more of the middle school grades, we're really looking to enhance the academic mindset, where we really want to start building the skills that will help them be successful in their future academic endeavors. On top of that, it's really understanding how to go about learning and the learning process. And then in the high school grades, we're really looking to prepare them for their future university education. So it has to do with the type of courses that they're taking, the approach to learning that they do have, being very research and inquiry based, as well as going very deep in the particular subjects that they're studying. I would characterize the BASIS curriculum as an accelerated, AP-infused education that really prepares students for education in building the critical thinking skills, as well as the creativity that we're looking to build within students. And so it's an accelerated, AP-infused liberal arts education that our students do receive. In terms of the outcomes, what we've seen at our schools in China is that the students have, even though we've only had a couple of graduating classes, the students have been very well prepared to be able to enter the universities of their choices in most cases. In fact, we had 92.3% of the graduates from the class of 2020 attain entrance into top 20 universities, and these are global top 50 universities, excuse me, and then 64% were accepted into global top 30 universities as well. Pretty significant achievement that we have seen. Very reputable organizations that the students are getting into, and it's not just about the ranking of schools, but really finding the right university for each student, including some students that are pursuing the arts, as well as others are pursuing science, math, and other liberal arts type education as well. In terms of what stands out or makes teaching with BASIS International Schools different from others, as I talk with teachers, there are a few things that really stand out. First and foremost, when I talk to teachers about what they enjoy about working with BASIS International Schools, I always hear about the collaborative work environment and the quality of the educators that they're working with. The quality of the colleagues that people work with is always paramount in terms of what I hear from teachers. You're working with other great teachers. We have pretty high expectations of teachers. And being that we pull teachers from different parts of the world and are open to teachers who have taught different curricula around the world, you're learning different approaches to education, always enhancing your craft in the way that you instruct. One of the other things we hear about commonly is that with our schools really being focused on an academic focused education, the culture of high expectations is very present. And the curriculum really does encourage rigor and achievement that teachers have really enjoyed, that sometimes they have felt was lacking in other places where they have taught. And it's been something that they've really enjoyed, that rigor, the interaction with the students, and the engagement that the students do have. Students are very motivated. They're smart and intelligent. One of the conversations that I had with one of our teachers, he had mentioned that the students are not only motivated and very smart, but they're also fun and creative and innovative. And it's something that he had mentioned is really kind of keeps him on his toes of having to stay on top of his own learning and continuous learning to be able to answer questions that they do have, because they really are bright and really want to learn. And lastly, one of the other things we hear about very commonly is that they really enjoy being a part of a network of schools. The basis schools are very highly respected and regarded, and not only have we become one of the larger networks of schools, international schools in China, but one of the most highly regarded, particularly because of our academics, and have become preferred schools in most of the markets where we are based. It also offers unique career opportunities. So while we currently have 6 schools in China, we do have plans to open up an additional 5 schools in the next few years, which means that we're looking for individuals who can take on new responsibilities and take on maybe similar responsibilities in a new location, become a founding teacher in one of our new school locations. And so this really offers unique career opportunities that you see within the Basis Schools network. In addition to that, we have schools, of course, in other countries, be it in Thailand or in the United States. Being able to continue your career in different locations as you choose within the network is something that is very highly appreciated by most of our teachers. In terms of what is unique about being in China, a lot of things stand out. First and foremost, particularly because this last year has been uniquely challenging. It's been a very challenging time for teachers, for students, for everyone really, but particularly in teaching, as students have been remote, teachers have been remote, teaching virtually. It's very difficult to have the type of interaction that you're accustomed to, and being able to see the students, be able to know who's learning what, who's struggling with what components of the lesson. And it's been challenging in those ways, but you also don't have what is, in many cases, intrinsically rewarding about a career in teaching. It's that interaction with the students. One of the things that we've seen in China is that because China has been aggressive in managing the global pandemic, that COVID issues are nearly resolved, and our schools have essentially returned to normal. The schools had reopened in the spring of 2020, and then for the current school year, for the 2020-21 school year, schools were fully reopened at normal capacity, and students are back to normal life. Teachers are also back to normal life. So being able to be in a safe environment where you're able to interact with those students and really enjoy what it is that you love about teaching, being with the students and seeing that learning is something that is unique about China, that teachers really appreciate, and you have that opportunity to be back to normal. Second, something that is also very important is that in China, education is greatly valued and teachers are highly respected. And that's something that you see quite common in the support that the teachers feel, both from the parents as well as the respect they have from the students. But they feel very supported, they feel very respected, and they're in a culture where education is such a high value, and they are able to be a part of that. And then lastly, something that's really unique is that you have the opportunity to participate in really meshing Eastern and Western cultures, and to have an influence on students who will become future leaders in what is one of the most prominent countries in a global society where China has an increasing influence, and you're able to participate in helping to shape the mindset of these young students who will be future leaders in that country that has, again, a very growing influence in global interactions. Something that's very important to us is what we're focused on in terms of our overall mission. And just to state that, our mission at Basis International Schools is to provide our students with a transformative early childhood and K-12 education with the cutting-edge Basis curriculum. Through exceptional teaching and faculty mentoring, will produce graduates who have broad intellectual capabilities, international perspectives, critical thinking proficiency, and creative problem-solving skills to be leaders in their future academic and professional lives. The two areas that are really important to me in this mission is, of course, number one, the outcomes of the students, that they have the skill sets, the mindsets, and the abilities to really have an influence on the future is really important to us. They have the insights and the abilities to succeed in their future educational endeavors as well as career endeavors is really important. So the outcomes for the students is important. But secondly, we're very focused on the teaching and the development and the support of our teachers. The teachers certainly have the biggest influence on shaping and molding the understanding of learning for our students. And we really want to continue to see that great, exceptional teaching in all of our classrooms. And so we're very focused on the support for the teachers, but also on the development and coaching of teachers. So it's that faculty mentoring that we're focused on is really important. And I think something that stands out in terms of it being a significant part of our mission to what you'll be able to anticipate being a part of. So some things that are important to know and understand about participating and teaching within a Basis International School with us in China is, number one, we do work on a 3-year foreign assignment. So a lot of times other schools work on different terms, but we typically are working on 3-year assignments, which may be unique. It's important to us that we do have the consistency as well as somebody adapting and learning the Basis curriculum and the approach. By that 3rd year is where you're really very effective and you're able to really enhance the learning of the students in our environment. Secondly, our schools have mostly local students. So what this means is that English is a learned language for the vast majority of our students. And as a teacher, you just need to be aware that you'll be preparing lessons, and you kind of have to keep in the back of your mind the idea that you want and need to incorporate aspects of English language, be it terminology and vocabulary, or examples that have a mind that can align with the mindset of some of our local students in China. Something that's very important to us. Next is that we opened our first school international school in 2015 and have grown since then. That being the case, the majority of our schools are 3 years or newer. And that being the case, the schools will continue to grow and things will change. So being able to have the flexibility to adapt to things that will change is very important to be able to continue to see the success that we have in our schools. For example, our most recent school that we opened this year is a Basis Bilingual School in Shenzhen. And we opened this year with 550 students. Next year, we'll have as many as 1,200 students. And you can kind of understand and see that's a significant change. You know, the teachers that started with us this year will be in a different environment, almost a different type of school than what we have this year. So having that flexibility is very important. And lastly, certainly understanding that the Basis curriculum is accelerated. It is rigorous, it's challenging. If you have students that are going to be coming with you, you really want to make sure that your student is prepared for a Basis education. We do recognize that our approach to education can be unique, and we're very focused on providing that accelerated and rigorous curriculum to students. It may not be for everybody, and that being the case, we have the success of our students as such a high priority. It's important to us that many students that are coming with our teachers really are truly prepared for the Basis education because we want your students to be successful as well. And it's something to take into consideration if you do have students that would be accompanying you, whether they are ready and a good fit for a Basis education. So with that, as an overview of some of our schools and things that are important in working with us, I wanted to touch on each of the different locations within our schools. As I mentioned, we do have 6 schools in China, 4 in southern China. We have 2 schools in Shenzhen, a school in Guangzhou, as well as Parkland Harbor, Hangzhou, and Nanjing in eastern China. And one of the things that we've seen is that, with this variety of different schools, depending on the type of environment you're looking for, if you're looking for something that is maybe a little bit more urban in the heart of a city with everything the city has to offer, we have locations for that. If you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more suburban, to where it's you're not in the busy traffic of the city, you have easy access to everything that the city has to offer, we have that as well. On top of that, our school in Parkland Harbor, for example, is a location that is it's more in a little bit more of a small town environment. It's a coastal resort community, and Michael will talk a little bit more about that. But there's different environments where we have our schools, and the type of environment that you're looking for, we have a location for that. So with that, I wanted to talk a bit more about the specific locations, and I will turn things over to Ty.
Sorry. Thanks so much. Yeah, excited to speak with you about a few of our schools in southern China. So first, I'm going to chat a little bit about Shenzhen and that city. So we have 2 schools currently in Shenzhen. Our first one, our Basis International School, Shenzhen, opened in 2015. But taking a step back from that and just kind of the greater city of Shenzhen, Shenzhen is a warmer climate. So southern China, you're going to find a little bit of a warmer climate down there. Summers can be a little bit humid. However, during the winter time, really mild climate, really lovely weather there. Shenzhen is a relatively new city when you think about the history of China. So not long ago, it was a small fishing town community, and now it has over about 20 million plus residents living in it. So it's been a fast, explosive build there. So a lot of the things there are brand new. But one thing they've done well in Shenzhen is making sure that they still plan a lot of green space, even though it is a large urban area. So you'll find a lot of parks, fantastic walkability, and the different neighborhoods that make up Shenzhen kind of all have their own personalities. So for example, our Basis International School, it's located in the Shekou area of Shenzhen. The Shekou area is definitely a very expat friendly area. You can definitely find some Western style cuisine if you're craving something that's not so much local, and you'll find some other expats living in the area. Shenzhen also does a great job with their infrastructure. So as far as being able to get around town, whether it's by bus, subway, or cab, you'll find it really easy to get anywhere you need to go. And they really do a great job actually having their public transportation using clean energy. So they're very progressive when it comes to using some of the resources we have available to run the city. You'll find it very clean. And just even on the weekends as you're walking through the city, you'll find people constantly cleaning up the city, sweeping the streets, working on the flowers around the town. They just really do a wonderful job of making sure the area is constantly being cared for. So that is a pre-K through 12th grade school. We had our first full graduating class a few years ago there in Shenzhen. And we'll go over to the other school there, our new school in Shenzhen. Great. So this is our newest school. This is Basis Bilingual School in Shenzhen. So same city, but it's a little bit away. This is in the center of the city in an area called Futian. Futian is a fantastic location because not only from there can you kind of get to all the different areas of Shenzhen, but it's across the border from Hong Kong as well. So the 20-minute train ride and you're in Hong Kong. So it's really preferable for many reasons. So this is our brand new school. It's currently a pre-K through 5th grade school. And next year we will be expanding from pre-K to 9th grade. So like Tim mentioned, we're going from about 500 or so students to 1,200. So lots of growth taking place. Now this area of the city, there's been a lot of buildings there. So we actually did take over an existing buildings, and we've actually been doing a full renovation with this school. So we opened up part of the school this year. Next year, that rest of that construction will actually be completed. And the nice thing about this is that the teachers actually have housing that's on campus, and the building's been completely gutted and remodeled. So you have all brand new accommodations right there on campus. I know our head of school, Tom, he will often tell me that he takes nightly bike rides around the area and into some of the local parks that are there. So even though, again, you're right in the middle of a large city, you have the opportunity to get into some nice parks and rec and green space. So you don't always feel like you're in the large urban area. All right, and lastly, Basis International School, Guangzhou. So this is definitely a little bit different. So Guangzhou is one of the largest cities in all of China. However, our school there in Guangzhou is located a little bit outside that city center in an area called Science City. So if you're looking for something that maybe is a little bit more suburban feel, you have some, hills and walking paths and things like that where you can get a little reprieve from the city life, but quick access to get in, then this is a fantastic location for you. We opened this school in 2017, so it was our second school we opened there in China. And actually this year we're going to have our first graduating class. So it's really exciting what's taking place on the campus there in Guangzhou. Another thing to note about Guangzhou is that we actually have a small boarding population on this campus. So students arrive on Sunday evenings and stay with us through Friday afternoon. And that is a small population, but they do board with us. So that allows for some opportunities for those students to kind of have a different experience with the boarding side of things. Guangzhou has kind of a fun personality. I always like to hear about the various activities that are taking place on the school. Some of my favorites are the Quidditch team because I love Harry Potter. So for those of you who like that. And then I also find that some of the competitions and things that our students are taking part of. So the picture down there on the left with our students and Dan, that's actually our economics team that went to the international challenge a couple years ago, I want to say, and actually took home the first place prize. So really neat, and not just in Guangzhou, but in all of our campuses, you will find our students and staff participating in a variety of activities. And Mike, I'll go ahead and throw it over to you.
Thank you, Ty. So I'll continue on in the southern China and talk to you about kind of our school there in Parkland Harbor. And Parkland Harbor, it is an absolutely spectacular campus. I think out of all of our campuses, it is probably the most beautiful campus because it is a resort community. And so being a resort community has all the pros and cons of that resort community. We're about an hour north of Shenzhen, right on the coast, right on Daya Bay. So as you can see from the picture of our school here, we are on a hillside with the bay just maybe about a 10-minute walk from there to a nice beach. We have the resort community, that type of thing in the area. And so with that, if you're someone who's looking for a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of green space, a lot of that type of thing, Parkland Harbor is an absolutely incredible place to be. However, by that same token, it is a smaller town. And so it can be a little slower pace than some of our schools in the larger communities. As far as the school goes, Parkland Harbor, it's our first all boarding school. And so we are only grades 5 through 12 there, but we're really excited because we have our first full graduating class this coming year. So we're really excited to see what those students are going to be doing, graduating from this, having our first graduating class there from Parkland Harbor. And as a boarding school, you do really get to know your students. The extracurricular activities program at this school is incredibly robust. And so you really get to know your students both in the classroom and beyond the classroom as well, because they are there. Just like in Guangzhou, they do come in on Sunday evening and they go home on Friday afternoon. So during the week, you really do get to know your students just incredibly well. And so having this robust extracurricular activity, having this robust school community at the school at Parkland Harbor is, I think, one of the things that it just does exceptionally well. And it's one of the things teachers really do enjoy about this campus is that connection they can have with their students and their peers. The next campus we're going to talk about as we go a little farther north is our Basis International School Hangzhou campus. And just like Parkland Harbor, we're going to have our first full graduating class at this campus this year as well. But they're a traditional pre-K through 12th grade school. So we're going to have our first full seniors graduating this coming school year. And Hangzhou is an interesting city because it's essentially 3 cities in one. Where the school is in the new city area, so it's right near downtown. And Hangzhou has some of the most incredible architecture anywhere around the world. And this new city area is where you see those newer buildings. You have the big broad streets, the skyscrapers, and just some incredibly well done modern architecture. But about 10 minutes beyond that is the old city. And that's what you think of when you think of a traditional large Chinese city. But then only about 10 minutes away from that as well is Westlake. And Westlake is a parkland area that has hiking and biking and, kind of as the name implies, a lot of lakes, that type of thing. That is just considered one of the most beautiful areas in China. And Hangzhou itself as a city, it's an interesting city as well because it's both one of the historic capitals of China and has an incredibly long history there in China of being a major city. but it's also one of the forerunners of the modern Chinese economy. As you have companies like Tencent and Alibaba located there in Hangzhou. And so Hangzhou is really putting itself out there around the world. And as such, you do have kind of an expanding kind of international community there in Hangzhou because of how Hangzhou is integrating itself in the worldwide economy. Additionally, as well as the school there, the teaching staff at Hangzhou has built one of the most close-knit and supportive communities of any school I've ever seen. And so they really do have a sense of community at the school that is just absolutely incredible. So that's our school there in Hangzhou, and we'll continue on a little bit north as well to our school there in Nanjing. And Hangzhou, Nanjing, and Shanghai form a triangle, and each of those cities is only about an hour apart. And so while they do have their own separate identities and separate things that make them unique in their own right, they are still easy to get to and easy to connect to each other. And Nanjing fits very well with the basis mission, the basis goal, as Nanjing is one of those education centers in China. It's one of the historic capitals of education in China and continues to be so to this day, with our school being in the University Park area, right down the street from Nanjing University and Nanjing Normal University. And so as such, Nanjing as a city has a tradition of very highly valuing education. And this University Park area of town, it is in the suburban area. So it's about a 20-minute metro ride from downtown. But as such, it is an area where we do see a lot of families. You have a lot of parks and dedicated to biking paths, that type of things in the area, as well as all of the access to kind of what you would find with large international universities as well. And Nanjing itself is known as one of those beautiful cities in China. And that is definitely the case, especially if you ever get a chance. Purple Mountain in the fall is something that just cannot be missed. Our school there in Nanjing, it is continuing to grow. And as with the school growing, we're going to have our first full graduating class, not this year, but the next school year. And so the teachers at the school are really loving the idea that they can create this school and they can really have that impact as the school grows and develops, of framing and developing kind of the mindset and the culture and just the identity of the school there in Nanjing. So I'm going to pass it back here to Tim now.
Great, thanks, Mike. So in terms of the expat package in China, very comprehensive, very competitive package. So we do offer full travel benefits, both getting you as well as any accompanying dependents to China, where you'll be working. On top of that, we do offer an annual return home allowance. So this is a travel allowance that you can use to return home during breaks or the summer. Those individuals that are spending more time in China or more locally, regionally, you can also use that for travel in those areas again during breaks. Full global health coverage is provided. It includes coverage not only within China or the region, but full global coverage, including the US. So teachers from the US who return home for healthcare services, you are covered for that. Tuition is covered for up to 2 accompanying children, as well as meals provided for attending students and faculty as well. Housing is fully covered. It's provided. It's furnished housing. Individuals that would like to find their own housing may do that, and there's a housing allowance option available for individuals that would prefer that if they would like. The additional compensation, there's a 10% retirement benefit that's provided each year. And then on top of that, there are various completion as well as other bonuses that are provided for teachers. In terms of requirements, first couple of things are basic visa requirements. You need to have 2 years of teaching experience, that is, post graduation from your university education. You need to be the named teacher of the course, to be a lead teacher. And then one thing that may be a little bit unique to BASIS is that we actually do require teachers to have a degree in the subject that you would be teaching. So if you're teaching math, then you have a degree in math, or teaching biology, have a degree in biology. It's something that's that we do look for, because we are focused on subject mastery and look for individuals who have that really deep knowledge and understanding and passion for that particular subject to teach the course and get students excited about their discipline. The other pieces that we look for in terms of traits, again, passion for teaching, the ability to really connect with young students, really inspire the inquisitiveness and the intellectual stimulation that comes from learning. Also, given the fact that our curriculum is rigorous, it's challenging, we do look for teachers to really support the students as well. So being able to really put forth that extra effort in supporting the students and working hard is very important to us. We really want people who want to make a difference in the level of academic education internationally and be able to really collaborate with teachers that they're working with, vertically as well as laterally across grade levels. Some things that we are currently seeing relative to visas. So it's currently, spring of 2021. Because of, the current global pandemic, as is the case everywhere around the world. There are some visa restrictions. So currently, China does have some restrictions in areas where there are coronavirus variants. So that's specifically the case in the UK, as well as coming out of Africa, as well as South America. So there are restrictions for individuals and teachers that are coming from those locations. On top of that, China is also focused on issuing work visas, and they are delaying or postponing visas for dependents coming as well. So some things to take into consideration for the immediate coming school year, but we do hope that those restrictions subside a bit and we're able to get things opened up as well to be able to present opportunities to all teachers around the world. In terms of some of our future growth, like we mentioned before, we are continuing to grow, which creates unique opportunities for individuals. We'll be opening up new schools in Beijing, Chengdu, Shanghai, Tianjin, and then also bilingual schools, so second schools in areas where we currently have international schools in Hangzhou and Guangzhou as well. So we're excited about this growth and the career opportunities that it presents for individuals who are looking to join BASIS and develop their career here with us. If you like some additional insights on our schools, what it's like to be with BASIS, what it's like to live in China and in the locations where we have schools, you can see a lot of what happens. We have pictures, insights, stories from our teachers, videos that we do share across our social channels. You can also find a lot of really good information on our blog where teachers are sharing about their experience. You can see their firsthand experiences and what it's like from their perspective. Something else we'd encourage you to do is to join our interest list. By joining the interest list, you'll receive occasional insights on what it's like to be with BASIS, as well as insights on new positions that are opening up and upcoming openings of new schools and so forth. For some of the remaining positions that we do have as of right now, positions in Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Nanjing, and Hangzhou. The positions in Shenzhen include positions in both our international school and the bilingual school as well. One of the things we'd recommend is, because positions are changing, being filled, sometimes we may have some new positions opening up. We'd encourage you to certainly keep an eye open to our career site, which is jobs.basisinternationalschools.com. So that concludes the presentation. We wanted to open things up for questions, and we've had some questions come in during the presentation. So Michael will be going through the questions, and then as a group, we'll be answering the questions as well. So Mike, do you have some questions to start off from?
We do. Kind of as we've been going through this, some of the questions we've been getting, we've kind of compiled. And so I guess the first question I have is, with those schools there in Shenzhen, with the international school and the bilingual school, can we go over the difference between them a little bit more? And specifically with the bilingual school, do we offer the same AP classes we do with the international school?
Great question. Ty, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so we definitely do offer the same AP classes that we have at the international schools. Probably the biggest difference is that we're trying to blend the basic curriculum model with some of the Chinese national curriculum requirements. Sorry, I was on mute, so my apologies. But like I was saying, so yes, we do offer the same AP courses at the bilingual schools that we would offer at the international schools. But probably the biggest difference is actually blending the BASIS curriculum and model with some of the Chinese national requirements. So that would be the biggest difference between the bilingual schools and our international schools, is just that blending of those two requirements.
There's a question about AP courses
Yes, there is.
at the bilingual schools, right?
At the bilingual school, correct.
Yeah, so we do. The bilingual schools will also participate in AP courses. Typically at a basis school, individuals complete at least 5 AP courses. Most are typically taken between 8, 10, sometimes more. At the bilingual school, some of those requirements will be a bit fewer because they do have additional courses they're participating to fulfill some of the requirements in the Chinese curriculum. So they will be participating in AP courses, but they typically won't be required to take as many as what is typical in the full basis curriculum.
Thank you, Tim and Ty. One of the next questions we got was, what is the maximum class size a teacher can expect in a basis school?
Yeah, so for our early years, we're going to have our classes capped at 20 students. So for pre-K and kindergarten, 20 students is what you would see in those classrooms. Anything above, first grade and above, you would have a cap at 25. You might see a little bit smaller classroom, sometimes with those elective classes or some of the APs, those might be a little bit smaller, but no more than 25 in those.
Thank you, Ty. And I guess continuing on with the classes, with basis using the AP curriculum, what about teachers that have experience in the IB, the British curriculum, or some of these other curriculums that are used around the world? Are they able to teach with the basis school as well?
Yeah, Mike, do you want to fill that out?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we really pride ourselves on here at Basis is having teachers a variety of experiences from around the world, because every curriculum and every system and every approach does some things really, really well and some things they struggle with. And what we want to do is get really this blend together, so take all these different approaches, all these different ideas, and really highlight those strengths that all of those curriculum has to blend them together. And specifically with the IB, one thing we have found there in China is that our teachers have really incorporated the IB very heavily, even more so in our schools here in the US, because the IB does such a great job at getting the students to really understand how to apply what they're learning and those critical thinking skills that are so essential for student success. And so we do have teachers from just a number of curriculum around the world, and we really pride ourselves on that and want to have the ability to collaborate with each other, work with each other, to learn from each other, to be able to kind of observe teachers from like different backgrounds, to be able to kind of say, okay, I like this approach, we borrow this from a different background, maybe I didn't have any experience with before.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
I think kind of the next question going along with that is, what supports are in place for teachers to learn the basis curriculum?
Yeah, I'll maybe start off on that, but certainly like input from either of you as well. But to start off, any new teachers coming to Basis International Schools will participate in the Basis Summer Institute. So this is a 1 week long period of time for the initial training, where teachers will learn more about the Basis curriculum. They'll understand what is taught in the courses that they'll be teaching. They also are trained on the systems that we use within our schools. And then on top of that, teachers are partnered with what we call a subject advisor. This is kind of like a mentor teacher that they can work with as well. On top of that, one of the systems that we do have is we have a repository of the syllabi and all of the lesson plans of the teachers who have taught that same course across the entire network. So not just the schools of China, but all the international schools, as well as all of the US schools as well. So the full network, you have access to phenomenal insights on how teachers have gone about teaching that same topic. So that's kind of where things start off in the Summer Institute. And then on a school level, in terms of continuing professional development, as we mentioned before, teacher mentoring is a very high priority for us. And so as schools identify their needs and look at the teachers and the desires of what kind of development they would want and need, they then develop PD and courses and support for the teachers that meet those. It can be done at a department level, it can be done at a grade or divisional level, or a whole school level as well. On top of that, if there are specific items that a particular teacher is looking to pursue, we look for individuals to propose additional training if it's something that is outside of the schools, to get the support from the administration on those types of items as well. For those individuals that would be teaching AP courses, it is actually required to participate in AP training. So the AP teachers do receive very specific training if they would be teaching an AP course as well.
I think to add on to that, one thing we also have is we have cemetery advisors. That those are expert teachers that our teachers can go to and they can ask questions on. They can see about those best practices and that type of thing. And they also lead web-based training throughout the year as well. And those cemetery advisors are grade and subject specific. So it's not just here's the English language arts advisor, it's here's the 6th grade English language arts, here's the 8th grade, here's the 9th grade. So they really know that subject and that grade level inside and out, and can really provide kind of that ongoing training kind of throughout the year as well. One of the next questions we had was, with basis schools having largely second language students, what are some of the ELL supports that are available for both students and teachers at our schools?
That's a great question. So we do have ELL coordinators on every campus, and so depending kind of on the size and the need of the campus, we do bring on more coordinators. So one thing that they're responsible for is really partnering with teachers. So it's a high level of collaboration to either work with teachers to kind of problem solve some of the things they're seeing with students, or have perhaps giving them the teachers the skills to identify students who may be struggling, or identifying things in their classroom that they can be doing to support our students. So you will see ELL coordinators, perhaps sometimes pushing into classrooms, maybe pulling students out. One thing that I think we do a great job in is being very adaptable to the various needs taking place, and that's not only from campus to campus, but it could also be from week to month to it's an ever-changing thing throughout our schools. So yeah, it's definitely but highly collaborative, working together with the teachers and really making sure we're identifying exactly where we're seeing maybe some struggles taking place, and helping to support those students the best we can.
The next question we had was kind of related to kind of everything that's going on this past year, with everything happening with COVID around the world this last year. What has BASIS done to help support their teachers through kind of these experiences that we've all had to deal with?
That's actually a really good question, and frankly, this is one area that I'm probably most proud of, given everything that's happened in the last year. The schools have really gone above and beyond to support the teachers, and that has to do with everything from when the schools coming off of the Chinese New Year break were on hold, and a quarantine started in China, and the teachers were provided everything from food to all of the necessities that they had, even some niceties. Sometimes it provided additional card games that teachers could play in their apartments while they were quarantining, as well as they established virtual exercise sessions, ways to support the emotional needs, social needs of the teachers as well, so they could engage virtually with some of their colleagues as they were quarantined in their homes. And on top of that, not only were they, the current teachers provided with the needs that they had, but then also the training that they needed as the world initially began to learn what virtual teaching was like. Moving on to the teachers that were hired for this current year, a couple of other things that stood out is, number one, all the teachers that we hired to start for the 2020-21 school year were guaranteed that we would still hold that position for them. We would still employ them. On top of that, because there were delays in teachers being able to get visas or being able to get to China, quarantining prior to or post arriving in China, one of the things the schools did is, so they guaranteed the employment. Secondly, we also provided global health coverage to the teachers that still hadn't arrived in China by the start of the school year. Regardless of where they were, we still provided that global health coverage, so they had that, and it wasn't going to be a worry for them. Lastly, the school also provided funding to those teachers, even though they were outside of China and hadn't arrived yet. So something that I heard about a lot is that the teachers saw the extent to which the schools and our network was going to be able to support their needs and demonstrate the commitment to them as teachers and the value that we show in our teachers, and wanting them still to come to the school and still teach their class and be a part of the BASIS family. We actually had a lot of comments from many teachers, both those that were coming this school year, as well as those that were in China during the pandemic, and very appreciative for the extent to which our operations teams went to support those needs. There were individuals who did have healthcare needs during quarantine, and the schools provided transportation, setting up appointments, and also as things went into quarantine and we started hearing about the coronavirus when it first started, our teachers actually did have access to priority health care and a VIP treatment at the clinics that we've contracted with. So they made sure that the immediate needs were taken care of with their food, any potential health concerns were also taken care of, and then ensuring that the temporal as well as, again, the social and emotional needs were addressed. Something that I was very proud of, and what a lot of teachers really commented that they were appreciative for the way that they were treated and really taken care of during that pandemic. Again, the schools reopened in the spring, and teachers were back on campus later in the spring as the school year finished out last year, and we're back to normal now. So excited for what they've been able to do and accomplish.
Thank you, Tim. One of the next questions we got was, so at the end of an assignment, can teachers transfer between BASIS schools, either internationally or back to the United States as well?
Yeah, that's actually one of the great benefits of being a part of the BASIS Curriculum Schools Network, and that is that you can transfer to another school. You are given priority consideration, and we do look for individuals who really understand and know BASIS to be able to take that experience and bring that to an additional campus, whether it's a current campus or a new campus opening up. You do have those opportunities within BASIS. And that's not just schools within China, but you can transfer to other international schools in other countries, as well as transfer to schools within the broader network in the United States as well.
Thank you. And I think kind of our last question we have for today is, with some of the visa requirements this year changing and some of the issues the world is still having with the pandemic, what if a teacher says, hey, this school year maybe isn't the right time for me? What do I need to do to consider for instance for the 22-23 school year as things get back more normal?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. So a couple of things that I would suggest on that. Number one, again, stay connected with us through our social channels. And you can find us on all of our channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest as well. And you can also follow us on our blog, which is, the address there is blog.basisinternationalschools.com. And I also strongly suggest that you sign up for our interest list. That's where you will receive notifications and updates of what is happening at the schools, what some of our teachers have shared about their experience. You'll also be able to see some of the new school openings that we have coming up as well, and stay engaged with us. We do look forward to opening new schools in the next school year as well. And that being the case, we're looking for exceptional teachers from around the world to be a part of BASIS International Schools in China. And we'd love to stay in touch. If this year is not quite the right timing for you, maybe the following year would be, and we'd love to consider you for a role with us then. Great. Well, again, please feel free to stay in touch with us. We appreciate your interest in BASIS International Schools. We've been really excited about both the growth that we've had in our schools, the success of the students, and the ongoing continued reputation that BASIS has built of very highly regarded and very well respected schools internationally, as well as the history that we have in the United States. So thank you for your time. Appreciate you participating today, and we look forward to being in touch. Take care, everybody.